So no frills, no flowery speech. I'm just going to explain my love of screenwriting, how I'd like to share that love with you, and to give you a few pointers as to how you can begin your own script. So beginning with myself, anyone of my age, anyone of a previous age, we've been in love with movies. And for me, it was magic, and it was like an inaccessible kind of magic. As a kid, I grew up watching Star Wars and E.T., and when I became a teenager, I would watch independent films like My Own Private Idaho and Slacker, and it seemed inaccessible to me. I craved to be part of the movie making process, but I didn't know how. So it was around the time I saw My Own Private Idaho by Gus Van Sant, the writer and director. Um, I realized that I've enjoyed writing all my life. I wrote for my high school arts magazine. I wrote a short story called Carnal Ingestion 101, and I saw how this guy put together a film at a budget which was a hundredth the size of Star Wars, and he made this marvelous film, and I was like, writing for film. That's what I want to do with my life, and so I took my short story Carnal Ingestion 101, and I turned it into a screenplay, um, which is currently sitting on my shelf. But this is not a sad ending. This story. I started going to screenwriting classes under the tutelage of a man named Charlie Schulman at the 96th Street the 63rd Street Y, the 63rd Street Y, which I can't point out on a map, even though I've been in New York City all my life. But in all seriousness, one of the exercises that he taught me was, I mean, conflict is at the heart of any good story, whether it's film, whether it's literature. What you usually begin with, as he explained to me, was you deal with a protagonist who has an urgent objective. He's looking at he's starving. He sees an apple tree, and there's only one apple left on the tree. So his urgent objective, it has to be tangible. It can't be something airy fairy. It has to be a tangible objective. He's starving. He needs that apple. So he's crawling his way towards the apple tree to get that one lone apple. And then in any drama, there's an obstacle. And the obstacle that this man is facing to get to that apple is a wolf. And the wolf is pretty hungry too. And the wolf wants our protagonist. So there's the challenge. There's his obstacle. He's got to get past that wolf in order to get his objective, his urgent objective, that apple. Now, that's the setup for Act 1. The end of Act 1, he either achieves his goal, or his goal is frustrated, or he changes goals, he changes his objective. So, let's say he achieves his goal, he finds a rock, smashes the wolf's skull in, and he eats the apple. His objective is frustrated. He's frightened off by the wolf, and he runs away. And then there's a shift of priorities. That's the third option. So he sees the wolf. It's blocking his path from the apple. But to make things worse, there's a newborn baby just lying there on the ground, and the wolf is drawing closer to the baby. So now our protagonist's objective is no longer to get that apple, but to protect that baby. So that, in a nutshell, is Act 1. And I'll discuss Acts 2 and Acts 3 with you in future clips. But I'd like to leave you, for the time being, with an exercise that my instructor taught me. And I'm going to share it with you to get a hang of how to write good dialogue for a screenplay. So here's the layout. You have two characters. Each character has 6 lines. Each line has 4 words or less. Has to be up to 4 words. Contractions count as 1 word. Don't, can't, won't. So the objective is These two these two individuals are having a dialogue, and the protagonist has his objective. The second speaker is obstructing that objective, and then in the last two lines of those 12 lines, something happens. One of the characters says something that changes the dynamic of their relationship radically. It just changes the course of their relationship, and it's irreversible. So to give you an example, I'll use one of my favorites, The Empire Strikes Back. Our protagonist, Luke, is raised to believe that Darth Vader had turned against his father and killed him. So he's been training long and hard to face Darth Vader one-on-one. So he duels with Vader. Vader's more experienced, so Vader beats him. So Vader taunts him by saying, "You never found out what happened to your father. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father." And Luke spits back, "He told me enough. He told me you killed him." And now, the dramatic twist, when Vader says that immortal line, "No, I am your father." And the relationship between those two characters are irreversibly changed. Luke doesn't know if he wants to kill Vader anymore. Luke is afraid of Vader even more so now that he finds out there's a blood tie between the two. So how is Luke going to resolve this relationship with Vader? It's not a simple matter of killing him anymore. Or is it? But the dynamic between the two characters have changed. So my challenge to you is to write about two characters. Each character has 6 lines, and each line has up to 4 words. And at the end of that dialogue exchange, the relationship between the two characters is changed irreversibly. And that is my first exercise for you guys and my expression of my love for screenwriting.